What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the R6 track bike series. Today I've got my shipment from partzilla.com. Tons of bolts, washers, O-rings. I got some seals for the head gasket, steering stem washer, just a bunch of odds and ends, but it's like Christmas time for this bike. I got the thermostat. I've got a few parts for the water pump, so that's what's going to happen on today's episode. I'm going to install the new thermostat. We're going to rebuild the water pump and whatever else I can fit on this video before my memory runs out. So stay tuned. Let me get you on the tripod. I'll clean this mess up and we'll get working on the thermostat first. All right, hold tight. All right, so I got you set up. I'll start by backing these two bolts out. Now I've already opened this up and inspected the thermostat and actually pulled it out. So don't be surprised when I open this up and it's not there. These should just be, they're not even on there tight. So you would have a thermostat behind this. I'm gonna clean this up. Clean all this up before I put this new one back on. But your thermostat has a O-ring around it as well, so keep that in mind. All right, guys, so starting with the thermostat, a few items you're gonna need: 5mm Allen, your thermostat, and your part number. I'll drop the link in the description below. All right, so let's get you mounted up on the tripod. I'll take you over to the engine. All right, guys, before we get the new thermostat installed, here's what the old one looked like. It actually still works. Other than the age and a little bit of wear, it's actually not a bad thermostat. But as you know, in this build series, we're going through everything, and this is one of the items that had to go. So if you're catching on to this video strictly on the how-to for the install, great, awesome, glad you're here. But if you're joining this build series because you're interested in the projects to come, stay tuned. I've got a few things lined up on this particular video, but I've got more to come. I got a lot of parts that just arrived today. So we're gonna go through this as quickly as we can just to kind of keep this project rolling. I wanna get back up and running before the end of the month. So hopefully I got my parts arriving in time, but I got a lot that has already arrived. So I'm gonna start cranking these things out, you know, one after one. But all right, let's get back to the build. Like I said, here's the old thermostat. You saw the housing when I pulled it off. I cleaned it up as best I can. You want to be careful when you're cleaning these surfaces that mate, you know, machine surfaces that mate back to another machine surface, that you're not sanding or, you know, grinding on any of this. So in this particular case, I used some Simple Green, cleaned up some of that hard water on this outer edge. I got a little Scotch Brite pad and went around it. That cleaned up pretty nice. Got some steel wool, cleaned up the rest. And then on this surface here, just a lot of Simple Green. And I actually took some 3000 grit sandpaper, laid it flat on my polishing stone to have a nice flat surface. Just got some water and then some Simple Green and just kind of sanded it back and forth, you know, just kind of polished that flat edge, keeping this edge nice and flat. Then I went and checked to make sure that all my surfaces are flat and even. I don't have any daylight showing through. For the most part, this will mate against a rubber seal that is around a thermostat. So you will have compression on this rubber edge, but you know, you don't want to disform or disfigure this surface, and that seems to be the way, best way that I've noticed when I've done that on a few different occasions. So piece of 2,000, 3,000 grit sandpaper on a nice flat, you know, piece of marble or granite, or if you got a nice piece of flat steel, you know, some water, and then just polish that bad boy up. So we're ready to go with the install. We got the thermostat ready. Manual says you want to put a light coating of lithium-based grease on this, so we'll get this O-ring greased up. And you want to make sure that you put this in correctly. There's a certain way that this goes, and you want to make sure that your breather hole is at the top. So top edge, the breather hole goes on that top edge. All right, but let's get this seal lightly greased. Hold tight. So I went ahead and took the seal off the thermostat just so I can get a nice even coverage around the whole seal. So I put a little dab of that lithium-based grease on my finger and just kind of sliding this back and forth in between the grease that's on my finger. So the camera didn't focus, but there you have it. Nothing to it, just a little bit of grease. All right, guys, so we got the O-ring back on. We're lightly greased all the way around. We're gonna go ahead and fit this back into the opening, taking count of our breather hole being in the upright position. All right, and then go ahead and fit our housing cover back on and get these bolts started. Now I put a light coating of some anti-seize grease on both of these bolts. These bolts, you know, mount into the block, so don't want these seizing up on you. Don't need any Loctite or anything like that, but I'm gonna go ahead and tighten these up with my 5mm Allen. I'm just gonna get them snug, and we wanna cinch these down or torque them down to 10 Newton meters. I'm just going back and forth evenly until I feel resistance. And we're right there. I'll get my torque wrench out. All right, there you have it. We got the torque wrench set at 10 Newton meters. All right, guys, that's all there is to it. You got your thermostat pulled out, new thermostat installed. We cleaned up the housing a little bit, torqued these bats down to 10 Newton meters. And that's it on this install. So, all right, guys, so I got you set up on the front half of the motor. We're gonna take off the two bolts on the coolant inlet union, and you need a 8mm socket or wrench. So I got my socket set up. Let's get right into it. Let's break these bolts. There's an O-ring on the back side, and that's why we're taking this off, to inspect and replace that O-ring. All right, not terrible. Pop this O-ring off. Probably get that cleaned up just a little bit. O-ring doesn't look like it's in terrible shape. New O-rings here. So which will take form of this oval once we get it pressed into the housing here. So let's get this cleaned up, and then I'll get you guys set back up on the front half of the bike to reinstall this. Pretty straightforward. We're in the process of rebuilding, or I wouldn't say rebuilding, but bringing this engine back to life, put it that way. Going through replacing hoses, seals, water pumps, what have you. Alright guys, so we got these bolts torqued down to 10 Newton meters. So we're all set with the replacement of that O-ring behind the coolant inlet union. So got the housing also cleaned up. Just shot it with some simple green. Got the inside outside cleaned up, a little bit on the inside of the engine block, but for the most part wasn't too bad looking. And we're ready to go on to the next project. Stay tuned guys. Hope you enjoyed the video.